Saqqara Mausoleum in Shiraz, the capital of Fars province in Iran's south. 8 people suspected of links with the terrorist attack have been arrested, according to the judiciary's Mizam online website, quoting Fars province chief Justice Kazim Mousavi. The 8 are in addition to the main suspect arrested on Sunday night after the attack. Mizan identified him as Ramatollah Naruzov from Tajikistan. Sunday's shooting wounded 8 people, officials told newsmen. Windows were left shattered by bullets and blood stained the ground in a courtyard of arched and colonnaded complex after the shooting. There was no immediate claim of responsibility, but Fars provincial governor Muhammad Hadi Imania blamed the extremist Islamic State group. Still to come is sports news. Bring you details shortly. Welcome back. You're still watching Biscon Television News. Now to the weather sports. Real Madrid have completed the signing of Kepa Arrizabalaga on a season-long loan from Chelsea. The 28-year-old was missing in action during Chelsea's opening day draw against Liverpool on Sunday at Stamford Bridge. Kepa will serve as a replacement for Madrid's first-choice goalkeeper, Thibaut Courtois, who suffered an ACL injury days before the new season and will reportedly be out for most of the 2023 to 2024 season. Kepa joined Chelsea in 2018 for €80 million, a world record deal for a goalkeeper. He made 163 appearances for the Blues, winning 4 trophies, including the Champions League in 2021. We'll take another short break to come back with entertainment news. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching Biscon Television News. Now to entertainment news. Big Brother Niger All-Stars housemate Uriel has been evicted from the ongoing reality show. Uriel became the second housemate to be evicted from the show after Princess was booted out last week. Uriel and Sheyi were the bottom 2 housemates with the least number of votes, upon which the jury would save one and eject the other from the show. The jury, consisting of Teddy A., Lakan, and Diana, unanimously agreed that Uriel deserved to leave the show. Uriel, who participated in the 2018 edition of Big Brother Niger, hails from Imo State, Nigeria. She's a singer, songwriter, and businesswoman. And that's it for now on the News Hour on Biscon Television, compiled and produced by Alakbeju Ajidagba. I am Stella Para. Thank you for watching.
Hello and welcome to Newspaper Review. I am Olakweju Ajidagba. Today on Newspaper Review, I will begin with The Nation. Yesterday on The Nation, Monday, August 14, 2023, I will begin with my first story here. CBN liabilities may worsen forex volatility. That's on page 28. For my next story here, Akure Ado Road project fails to take off 3 months after. That's on page 8. Seplat to end gas flaring by last quarter of 2024. Akeredolu will return soon, says Ondo government. Both stories are on page 13 and 18 respectively. Moving on, shareholders. Otudeko behind court order stopping FBN AGM. That is the major shareholders group. That's what they're saying. Moving to the next story here. Niger junta leader now ready for dialogue with ECOWAS. Chinese soft pedals at meeting with Islamic leaders on intervention mission. I think that's good news there. Ready for dialogue. We can see the picture here, the intervention team on the crisis in Niger after their meeting with the coup leader, General Tijani in Niamey at the weekend. I think this is good news here. Niger coup leader begs for snubbing Abdulsalam Sultan. That story is continued on page 4 if you want to read more on that. We're moving on to the Vanguard newspaper. For my first story here on the Vanguard, French fuel price hike looms as landing cost rises by 37.4%. Yes, so moving on to my next story here. Why I was retired as permanent secretary at 48. Oyegun, the ex-APC chairman, you can read that story on page 10. NJC denies ceding powers on judges' appointment promotions to governors. That's on page 4. Moving on to the coup in Niger Republic, we struck to avert threat against Nigeria and Niger. That, according to General Tijani, says coup, well intended, explains why they didn't see Tinubu's delegation led by General Abdulsalami. OK's dialogue as they meet Nigerian Islamic clerics, fight corruption, insecurity, not Niger Republic. Catholic bishops tell federal government, prioritize dialogue, diplomacy. Obi urges federal government ECOWAS. Next story here. Shaibu manipulated NYCN election for Edo governorship ambition. That's according to the governor of Edo State, Obaseki. That's on page 12. Subsidy removal. Kill corruption, not Nigerians. Bakri tells Tinubu. That's the senior pastor at the Citadel Global Church. You can read on that on page 26. How man killed his 2 nieces in Ogunbush. That's on page 6. SERAP sues Akpabio. Abbas over plan to suspend 110 billion naira on exotic cars. Others. You can read that on page 8. I am concerned why senior secondary school final year students in Zamfara State have for some years not taken the basic West African school certificate because as governor, Matawal, a professional teacher, refused to pay the examination body. That story is on page 16. Now moving on to the world of sport. Budapest 2023. Toby Amoson's fate hangs in the balance. World Athletic Championship would hold August 19 to 27, 2023, and Toby Amoson's fate still hangs in balance. We don't know if she's going to be part of the team or not. To read more on Toby Amoson's story, you can read that on the sports section. That's on page 31. That's all we have for you today on the Vanguard. We're going to move on to the New Telegraph. For my first story here, FBNH shareholders insist AGM should hold despite court order. So despite the order by the Federal High Court in Lagos halting the general meeting, they're still insisting to hold the AGM despite the court order. So you can read that on page 3 of New Telegraph. Moving on. How politics shaped Senate screening of ministerial nominees. That's on page 9 and 10. Abbas condemns Zaria killing. 6 probe. NJC dismisses letter surrendering its powers to governors as fake. To read both stories on page 2 and 28. That's according to Abbas. Ill health. Akeredolu still in Germany, according to Ondo government. On page 29, you can read that. Flood. Avoid Bauchi Gombe Road. FRC warns motorists. There was a video circulating about the return governor of Ondo State, Akeredolu, voting Akeredolu, but the Ondo government is just saying it's still in Germany, so we await his return as he comes back in good health. You can read on that on page 29. Moving on to my next story here. No request to topple Tinubu's government, says military. Restates loyalty to president in the constitution. You can read that on page 2. Kill corruption, not Nigerians, Bakri tells Tinubu. Says palliatives, no cure for citizen sufferings. States Tinubu lacks morality to provide ECOWAS leadership. Once against scapegoating Emefiele, accuses president of rewarding bad behavior with ministerial appointment. You can read that on page 3. Ogun APC may implode over ministerial nominations. That's on page 2. Enjoyment allowance. President associates search for Akpabio's replacement. May tinker with existing leadership structure. According to Ndume, he may face sanction. Don't crucify Akpabio over holiday tokens. That's according to Able. You can read on that on page 5 and page 30. NCAA set to enforce regulations on insurance. Ground defaulting couriers. That's on page 4. 10th hours committees. Ibo retakes over daughter's role as NDDC's chair. Summons commission top shot for briefing. Reps lobby ex-Delta governor for inclusion in committee. Contractors besiege Abuja, Lagos, Warri residences. You can read on that on page 4. And that's all we have for you on New Telegraph. I will be moving on to the next daily, which is the Daily Sun, Monday, 14 August 2023. For my first story, still on the Niger coup, Niger Republic coup leaders open up. Fought ECOWAS for not having patience to hear the side of the story before issuing ultimatums. Express readiness for peace talks. Dialogue, diplomacy should be priority. That's according to Obi. You can read that on page 6. This is the good news. I said that earlier. There's room for peace talk now, and hopefully everything will be resolved. Still on the Niger coup, PDP accuses APC government for dragging Nigeria to needless war. That's on page 6. Naira. CBN spends 105 billion naira on RT200 naira for dollar in 2 years. That's on page 2. NJC dismisses fake letter allegedly surrendering powers to governors. That's on page 28. Anambra bans advertisement of traditional medicine. You can read on that on page 27. Border closure. We are losing 13 billion naira weekly. Northern traders cry out. That's on page 25. Drug baroness. 4 kingpins arrested as NDLEA busts 3 syndicates in Lagos. That's on page 4 of the newspaper. Abia bans Okada Keke in Umaya, Abia. That's on page 28. Bakri attacks APC. Tinubu claims government actions decisions impulsive. Urges presidents to kill corruption, not Nigerians. And that's on page 26. Hoodlums raise monarchs' houses, vehicles in Imo. That's on page 5. Moving on to the Punch. Still on the Niger coup. PDP, NLC, Bakri, Kaigama oppose military action. Pages 2 and 7. CBN staff loans jump by 113%, hit 40 billion naira. You can read that story on page 22. Moving on, military pledges loyalty to Tinubu, backs democracy. That's on page 7. I'm moving to my next story here. It's on Forex crisis. Marketers propose 720 per litre. Suspend fuel import. Now Forex in CBN's I&E window. Fuel price hike imminent. Say Moman, Ipman. Marketers seek end to dollar scarcity. Naira slides further amid shortage. Nigeria junta bows to pressure, demands meeting with ECOWAS. CCB shuns request on Tinubu Shetima's asset. That's on page 9. ICPC grills are Greek military officials over massive fraud. You can read on that on page 8. Shaibu manipulated youth council poll for selfish reasons. That's according to the governor of Edo State, Obaseki. You can read that on page 7. Before I continue with the next dailies, we'll go on a short break. When we come back, we continue. Yes, welcome back. I will be taking the Nigerian Tribune for my first story here. Insurance. NICOM latches on $25 trillion global tackle insurance for market expansion. That's on page 16. CBN to clamp down on banks engaging in illegal sales of forex. That's on page 7 of the newspaper. Nominations open for 2023 Obafemi Awolowo Leadership Prize. That's on page 4. Bank recapitalization. Forex revaluation erodes value of 25 billion naira capital base. Niger crisis. Arewa Forum lament 13 billion naira weekly loss to border closure. Says more than 2,000 trucks of perishable goods trapped at borders. Diversion of flights from Niger's airspace has not affected fares. That's according to Nantan President, NANTA President. You can read that on page 3. Subsidy. Tinubu put the cart before the horse. That's according to Pastor Bakri. Wants president to unite, not further divide Nigeria. That's on page 23. Military never received any coup request. DHQ, page 3. To read on that. I procured guns from police inspector. Armed robbery suspect alleges in Ogun. And that story is on page 27. Nigeria coup leaders ready for dialogue with ECOWAS. Apologize to Tinubu, explain their anger during Abdulsalami Sultan visit. Explain how the coup staved off threat to Nigeria. That's all we have for you on Nigerian Tribune. I will be moving on to the next newspaper, which is This Day. For my first story here on This Day, shareholders accuse Otudek of using court to stop FBN holdings. AGM. Bakri. Emefiele's case signals war against corruption is clamped down on political opponent. So, according to the serving overseer of the Citadel Global Community Church, that is Pastor Tunde Bakri, talking about the Emefiele's case, we're just going to wait and see the outcome of this case. Moving on to the next story. Muslim clerics. Niger junta now ready to dialogue with ECOWAS. Peace talks. That's a good move there. Apologizes for snubbing Tinubu's delegation. Says sacking Bazoum was in collective interests. PDP. APC desperate to drag nation to war for ulterior motives. War in Niger may signal end of ECOWAS. NLC wants. Lamido. HURRWA. Sani others fought military intervention. You can read that on page 5 of This Day newspaper. We've come to the end of This Day. Moving on to the last newspaper here, which is The Guardian. Today, Monday, August 14, 2023, I will begin with the first story here. For my first story here, how 66 days of APC plunged Nigeria into further darkness by LP. You can read that on page 3 of the newspaper. CBN's Fiscal Irresponsibility Act. Investigator probes CBN staff, consultant, NIBSS, and SPMC. There's a lot of probe going on there. You can read that on page 6. Moving on to my next story here. Ministerial nomination as litmus test for APC in Southeast. And that's on Politics there. You can read that on page 28. Niger military succumbs to dialogue, says coup in Nigeria's interest. That's on page 6. That's a new turn there. Tinubu's reforms will fail without economic justice, ending corruption, says Bakri. That's on page 3. Shareholders point fingers over court order barring FBNH from holding AGM. You can read that on page 3. It's a back and forth between the court and the shareholders. You can read that on page 3. From my last story on The Guardian, how fuel subsidy removal impedes justice administration. You can read that on page 4. It's a news analysis, so you can read that on page 4. We've come to the end of a newspaper review today. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for staying with us. You can download the Biscon TV app on your Android devices or on your iOS devices. And you can also visit our YouTube channel to watch more. Thank you for joining us. I will see you next time for another episode of Newspaper Review.
When I say Yerima is an exceptional man. Yerima is an exceptional man, but I also know Anissa is an exceptional woman because in over a decade, Yerima hasn't called me and said, I want you to meet someone. But he called me and said, there's a woman I want you to meet. And I knew then that this was going to be the one. And I'm so happy to see this. And focus on that queen right there. Kansma's mom, she's his queen. You keep her happy, you keep him happy. Long, fruitful, and beautiful marriage together. I'm so grateful to welcome you to the family. I speak for...
Amen. I mean, thank you. A round of applause for her, please. Thank you so much. Thank you. Tears of joy. Those are tears of joy. We don't intend to keep you for too long. That are on this table, please take your position before I invite His Excellency, the Chairman of the occasion, and of course the President of the Senate, Deputy President of the Senate, and the Deputy President.
Thank you. Let it go.